You've stood in that spot in your house, the one by the north window, or the hallway that never sees direct sun, or the corner of the living room that always feels a little empty. You've probably tried something there before. A plant from the garden center that looked hopeful for about 3 weeks, and then didn't. Maybe you told yourself you just don't have a green thumb anymore. Maybe you gave up on that corner entirely. Here's the truth. That corner was never the problem. You were never given the right plant for it. There's a whole category of plants, some of the oldest ones people have kept close to home, going back centuries, that don't just tolerate shade, they actually prefer it. And a good number of them were grown for more than their leaves. They were grown because people relied on them. Today I'm going to walk you through 10 of them. Plants that will actually thrive in the low light you've got, that are forgiving if you forget to water them for a few days, and that carry a history most of us were simply never taught. By the end of this, that empty corner is going to have a new resident, and you're going to know exactly why it's there. Stick around, because number 10 on this list is one that almost nobody grows indoors anymore, and it might be the most useful plant in your whole house. Here's something I think about a lot. 2 or 3 generations ago, most households had a working knowledge of plants. Which ones to keep in the kitchen, which ones your grandmother kept by the back door, just in case. That knowledge didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because life got faster, homes got smaller, and gardening got simplified down to, does it look nice at the store? That's not a conspiracy. It's just what happens when knowledge isn't passed down. And it means a lot of genuinely useful, easy-to-grow plants got quietly left behind. So consider this your refresher course. Nothing here replaces your doctor or your medications. I'll say that clearly as we go, especially since a few of these plants can interact with common prescriptions. But traditional use, common sense, and a little bit of green in a dim room, that's something worth reclaiming. Let's get into it. 1. Aloe Vera. If you've ever grabbed a leaf off this plant after touching a hot pan, you already know its most famous trick. But here's what a lot of people don't realize. Aloe doesn't need blazing sun to survive indoors. In fact, direct afternoon sun through a window can scorch it. A bright but indirect spot, think a few feet back from an east-facing window, is exactly where it wants to be. This plant has one of the longest documented histories of any houseplant. Egyptian medical texts nearly 4,000 years old referenced it. It traveled with traders across the Mediterranean and eventually made its way into home gardens worldwide, valued for one simple reason. The clear gel inside the leaf, applied to the skin, has a long-standing reputation for soothing minor burns and irritation. To use it, you simply snap off a lower, mature leaf, slice it open lengthwise, and scoop out the gel. Keep a leaf in the fridge, and you've got a cool, ready-to-use remedy for a minor kitchen burn or a sunburned arm. The bonus most people miss. Aloe is nearly impossible to overwater kill because it stores moisture in its leaves, like a camel stores water in its hump. If you're the kind of gardener who forgets to water for 2 weeks, this plant will forgive you completely. One quick safety note before we move on. Aloe taken internally can interact with certain blood pressure and diabetes medications, so if you're using it, keep it to the skin. Now, the next plant on this list has a similar reputation, but almost nobody remembers it grows indoors at all. 2. Peppermint. Peppermint has a reputation as a garden thug, the kind of plant that, if you put it in open ground, will happily take over the whole bed. But in a pot, on a shaded windowsill, that same aggressive growth becomes an asset. You'll never run out. This plant's calming reputation goes back further than most people expect. Ancient Greek and Roman writers described it being used after meals, and it became a fixture in European kitchen gardens specifically for that reason. A cup of tea after a heavy dinner, meant to settle the stomach. The way to use it is almost embarrassingly simple. A few fresh leaves, torn slightly to release the oils, steeped in hot water for 5 minutes. That's it. No processing, no equipment. Here's the bonus benefit that surprises people. The same oils that make peppermint smell so clean and sharp also seem to keep certain pests away from nearby plants, and a crushed leaf rubbed on the wrists is an old trick for cooling down on a warm day. Keep the pot on its own saucer, by the way. This plant spreads by runners, and if you let it touch soil outside its container, it will root there too. Which brings us to a plant with almost the opposite personality: slow, quiet, and easy to underestimate. 3. Self-heal, Prunella vulgaris. If you've walked through a shaded lawn or a woodland edge and stepped over a small plant with purple flower spikes, there's a good chance it was self-heal. It's one of the few weeds that genuinely prefers shade over full sun, which makes it an unusually good candidate for a spot most other plants reject. The name itself tells you what people historically used it for. Across European folk medicine, it was one of the most commonly kept household plants, applied topically to minor cuts and scrapes, or taken as a mild tea. It fell out of common knowledge, largely because it doesn't photograph as well as a peace lily, and it's not sold at big box stores, not because it stopped being useful. To grow it indoors, give it a shallow, wide pot, keep the soil lightly moist, and let it sit in bright shade. For traditional use, the leaves were often crushed slightly and applied to a clean, minor scrape, always on unbroken skin, and never as a substitute for proper wound care if something looks serious. The bonus here is honestly just resilience. This plant tolerates being ignored better than almost anything on this list, and it will quietly flower indoors even in a dim room. Next up is a plant most people recognize from spa products, without knowing it grows beautifully as a houseplant. 4. Lemon balm. Lemon balm has that unmistakable citrus scent the moment you brush against a leaf, and it's part of the mint family, which means, like peppermint, it handles neglect and low light better than plants that get all the glossy magazine attention. Its history runs through medieval European monasteries, where it was cultivated specifically in kitchen and physic gardens, and used in preparations meant to promote calm and ease restlessness before sleep. It made its way into that reputation for a very practical reason. People noticed, generation after generation, that a warm cup before bed seemed to help. Using it is once again simple. A small handful of fresh or dried leaves steeped in hot water, ideally in the evening. Some people also just rub a fresh leaf between their fingers and breathe in the scent when they're feeling frazzled during the day. The bonus benefit: pollinator gardens love this plant in summer if you move the pot outside for a season. And the same calming reputation applies to bees. Beekeepers have rubbed lemon balm on new hive boxes for centuries to help calm a colony during a move. Just one note: if you're on any sedative medications or thyroid medication, check with your pharmacist, since lemon balm can amplify those effects. Now, here's a plant with one of the strangest reputations on this entire list. 5. Go-to cola. This one might be unfamiliar, and that's exactly why it deserves a spot here. Go-to cola is a small, low-growing plant with fan-shaped leaves that naturally grows along shaded stream banks and forest floors across South and Southeast Asia, meaning your dim living room corner is, frankly, closer to its natural habitat than a sunny windowsill would be. In traditional Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese systems of medicine, go-to cola holds a place of real prominence. Some translated texts refer to it in terms suggesting long life and clear thinking, and it was traditionally consumed as a tea or added fresh to food. To grow it, keep the soil consistently moist. This plant does not like to dry out completely, and give it medium, indirect light. It spreads by small runners, similar to a strawberry plant, so it fills out a shallow pot nicely over a season. The bonus with this one is genuinely practical. Because it grows so low and dense, it works beautifully as an underplanting beneath a taller shade plant, giving you 2 plants worth of green in the space of one pot. Coming up is a plant almost every household used to keep, and most people today wouldn't recognize it if it were sitting on their own counter. 6. Holy basil/tulsi. Not to be confused with the basil you cook with, holy basil, also called tulsi, has been cultivated in and around Indian households for thousands of years, often kept in a courtyard or entryway, specifically because of the belief that its presence benefited the whole home, not just the cook. It tolerates part shade far better than culinary basil, which is genuinely fussy about sun. Indoors, tulsi wants bright, indirect light rather than harsh direct rays, making it a good match for a room with a large but shaded window. Traditionally, the leaves are steeped as a daily tea, valued for centuries as part of a general wellness routine rather than a treatment for any single ailment. More like a daily ritual than a remedy. The bonus benefit is fragrance. Brushing past this plant releases a warm, clove-like scent that many people find more pleasant in a living space than standard basil. One caution: tulsi can have mild blood-thinning properties, so if you're already on blood-thinning medication, this is one to discuss with your doctor before making it a daily habit. Now, the next plant on this list is one you almost certainly have in your spice cabinet, and very few people realize it can be grown as a houseplant. 7. Ginger. Ginger doesn't look like a typical houseplant. It grows from a knobby underground rhizome, the very same one you'd buy at the grocery store, and sends up tall, cane-like green stalks. In its native tropical forest habitat, it grows under a full canopy, which means bright indoor shade suits it perfectly. Direct sun, if anything, can scorch the leaves. Its warming reputation goes back across multiple ancient trade routes. Chinese, Indian, and later European texts all describe it being used to ease an upset stomach and take the edge off nausea, particularly during travel. To grow your own, you can start with a fresh grocery store rhizome that has a few visible eyes. Plant it shallowly in a wide, shallow pot, and keep the soil consistently moist. A small piece grated into hot water with a little honey is the classic preparation. The bonus here is a fun one for anyone who's tried and failed at houseplants before. You're not just growing a plant, you're growing your own future supply of fresh ginger root, which multiplies underground each season. Coming up next is one you'll recognize from your kitchen too, and it's one of the easiest plants on this entire list to keep alive. 8. Turmeric. Turmeric is ginger's close cousin, and it shares nearly identical growing needs. Shallow rhizome, shaded understory native habitat, consistently moist soil, and a strong preference for staying out of direct sun. Its golden color and reputation traveled together through South Asian cooking and traditional medicine for well over 4,000 years, prized both as a spice and, traditionally, applied to the skin or taken in warm milk as part of everyday wellness practices. Growing it indoors is nearly identical to ginger. A shallow pot, a piece of fresh rhizome with visible growth points, and patience. It's slow to sprout, but very rewarding once established, with broad, elegant leaves that look good even before you ever harvest anything. The bonus benefit is practical and a little bit fun. Turmeric stains everything a deep gold, which for generations was used as a natural dye for fabric. So if you've got grandchildren who like craft projects, this plant does double duty. One note: turmeric in large amounts can interact with blood thinners and affect iron absorption, so if that's a concern for you, keep quantities modest and mention it to your doctor. Now, we're getting close to the end of this list, and I promise the next one is worth the wait. Before we get to the final two, I want to ask you something. Out of the 7 plants we've covered so far, which one is already sitting somewhere in your kitchen right now, just waiting to be repotted into something more permanent? Drop the number in the comments. I read every one, and I genuinely love seeing which of these surprises people the most. And if you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who takes care of your space and the people in it, which is exactly why it would mean a lot if you hit subscribe. Not for me. For the next person scrolling past this who has that same empty, sunless corner and doesn't know yet that there's a plant for it. Now, the final two. And I promise you, the very last one on this list is the one I get asked about the most. 9. Swedish ivy, Plectranthus. Don't let the common name fool you. This plant isn't from Sweden, and it isn't a true ivy. It's actually part of a large plant family with deep roots in traditional medicine across Africa and Asia, and it happens to be one of the most forgiving, fastest-growing shade plants you can own. Certain species within this same family have a long-standing traditional reputation for being used topically for minor skin irritation, and the leaves release a sharp, almost minty camphor scent when brushed, a strong hint at the natural oils inside them. It thrives in indirect light, tolerates a wide range of temperatures, and roots so easily from a simple cutting in a glass of water that it's often the plant people pass along to a neighbor or a grandchild starting their first apartment. The bonus benefit, because it grows in cascading trails, it's a natural choice for a hanging basket in a shaded corner, filling vertical space that most other plants on this list can't. And now, the one I promised you at the very start. 10. Boldo. This is the plant almost nobody grows indoors anymore, and it deserves far more attention than it gets. Native to the shaded forest understory of Chile, boldo has been used in South American traditional medicine for generations, most commonly as an after-dinner tea, valued much like peppermint or lemon balm for settling the stomach after a heavy meal. What makes it such a good match for this list is simple. It evolved growing under a forest canopy, which means low household light doesn't just fail to bother it. It's genuinely what the plant expects. Give it indirect light and slightly cooler temperatures, and it will reward you with fragrant, leathery leaves and slow, steady growth for years. The traditional preparation is a small handful of dried leaves steeped briefly in hot water. Briefly is the key word, since boldo tea is traditionally taken in small amounts rather than large quantities, and it's not recommended during pregnancy or alongside certain liver medications, so this is one worth a quick conversation with your doctor before making it a habit. The bonus benefit is one I think you'll appreciate. Because it's so rarely seen in homes anymore, it tends to become a genuine conversation piece. The plant your guests ask about, the one you get to explain the history of. So think back to that empty, shaded corner we started with. It was never a lost cause. It was just waiting for the right resident. And now you've got 10 of them to choose from, several of which you may already have sitting in your kitchen right now in the form of a ginger root or a grocery store aloe leaf. Here's what I'd suggest. Don't try to grow all 10 at once. Pick the one that solves a problem you actually have. A stomach that could use settling, a small burn kit you'd like on your own windowsill, a quiet evening tea you'd like to make part of your routine. And start there. Success with one plant builds the confidence to try the next. And just to say it plainly one more time, because it matters, these are traditional, time-tested plants with long histories of household use, not replacements for your doctor or your prescriptions. If you're on regular medication, it takes 30 seconds to ask your pharmacist whether a new herb is worth adding to your routine, and that 30 seconds is worth it. I'd love to know, which one of these are you planting first? Tell me in the comments, and if there's an old household plant your own parents or grandparents kept that didn't make this list, I want to hear about that too. Some of the best plants I've ever learned about came from someone's comment section memory of their grandmother's windowsill. If this helped you look at that shaded corner a little differently, subscribe. There's a lot more of this forgotten household knowledge worth bringing back, and I'll keep digging it up for you. I'll see you in the next one.